Namaskar, Om Shakti Hrim, Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya. The Brahmavaivarta Purana, the story Radha and Krishna. The goddess Radha is to be worshipped on the day of the full moon, Purnima, in the month of Kartika. 16 objects including flowers, lamps, incense, sandalwood, paste, jewels, fruits and the sweets have to be offered to her. When uttering the names of Radha and Krishna together, one must take care to put Radha's name first. One must say Radha Madhava or Radha Krishna and not Madhava Radha or Krishna Radha. Radha has a smiling face, marked with a sandalwood paste and vermilion. From the hair coiled into a bun on her head to her fingertips and toes, she is bedecked with the jewels and ornaments. In Varaha Kalpa, Radha was born as the daughter of Rishabhanu in Gokula. Rishabhanu's wife was Kalavati. They were Vaishyas and arranged their daughter's marriage to another Vaishya named Rayana. He is sometimes also referred to as Ayana. But Radha had no desire to marry Rayana. She therefore disappeared and left merely her shadow in the body of Rishabhanu's daughter. It was this shadow Radha who got married to Rayana. The original Radha returned to Vishnu in Goloka. The shadow Radha was about 12 years old at the time of her marriage. After 14 more years, Krishna arrived as a newborn baby in the household of Nanda and Yashoda in Gokula. Yashoda was Rayana's own sister, and that made Rayana Krishna maternal uncle. For a brief period, Krishna and Radha enjoyed each other's company in Gokula, but then they were separated for 100 years. This is the story behind it. One day in Goloka, Krishna was playing with a gopi named Viraja. Other gopis reported that to Radha and she rushed to Krishna on a chariot. She was beside herself with anger and jealousy. Sudama was a friend of Krishna's. He heard the sound of the approaching wheels and warned Krishna of Radha's impending arrival. Krishna, Sudama and the other gopas ran away in alarm. As for Viraja, she was so scared of Radha that she committed suicide. She became a wide river that circles Goloka. Her friends became smaller rivers. Finding neither Krishna nor Viraja, Radha returned to her own residence. But when she eventually met Krishna and Sudama, she began to scold them soundly. This angered Sudama and he scolded Radha back. The fact that Sudama had scolded her in front of Krishna enraged Radha, and she cursed Sudama. "You will be born as an asura," she said. "What you have done today shows that you are fit for no other existence." Sudama did not think that he had done anything that deserved such a curse. He therefore cursed Radha back. "You in your turn will be born in a clan of cowheads in Bharatavarsha," he said, "and when that happens, you will have to suffer the pangs of separation from Krishna for 100 years. Sudama's curse had its effect, and Radha and Krishna were separated for 100 years. When the spirit was over, they went back to Goloka. All the other gopas and gopis who had been born in Gokula also went back to Goloka. Worshipping Radha frees one from misfortunes and ill health. The proud king Sudyajna, who was once cursed by a Brahmana named Sutta Pasha. "Lakshmi will desert you, you will have to leave your kingdom. You will become dull and stupid and contract leprosy, says the Brahmana. When the king begged them for mercy, Sutta Pasha advised him to pray to Radha. As a result of doing this, Suyajna was freed from all his troubles. The fourth and final section of the Brahmavaivarta Purana is the Shri Krishna Khanda. This begins with Narada asking Narayana about stories pertaining to Krishna's birth and childhood. For example, all stories connected with Radha. We will particularly concentrate on the stories that are not found in the other Puranas. Narayana began by stating that stories about Krishna are edifying. Those who narrate them, as well as those who hear them, are purified together with their families. As you already know, in Goloka, Shri Dama had cursed Radha that she would be born as the daughter of a cowherd. Radha began to cry as the thought that the curse would separate her from her beloved Krishna. But the ass had meanwhile gone to plead with Krishna. There were a large number of evil men on earth, and the ass could no longer bear the burden of their oppression. They had gone to Krishna with a request that he might be born on earth and destroy this evil man. Krishna agreed to request. He was therefore able to reassure Radha that they would meet each other on earth. They associate in Goloka, the Gopas and the Gopi would also be reborn on earth as the cowherds and the milkmaids. With the 33 of her special friends, Radha was born in Vraja or Gokula. Krishna was born in Mathura. Devaki was a daughter of Devaka, of noblemen in the line of Yadu. She was given in marriage to Vasudeva. Devaki's brother Kamsa had taken an active part in the marriage ceremony. But as he was about to see his sister off into the chariot that would take Vasudeva and Devaki to Vasudeva's house, a warning sounded from the sky. "Why do you rejoice, Kamsa?" asked the voice. "Why are you so happy at your sister's wedding? Devaki's eighth child is going to be the cause of your death." Kamsa raised his sword to kill Devaki, but Vasudeva interceded and promised that he would deliver up his children to Kamsa as soon as they were born. On this condition, Kamsa let Vasudeva and Devaki go. One by one, Devaki had seen 6 sons. Vasudeva delivered all of them to Kamsa, and Kamsa had them killed. When Devaki was expecting for the 7th time, Kamsa employed sentries to guard Vasudeva and Devaki all the time. Vasudeva had a second wife named Rohini, who lived in Gokula. The goddess Yogamaya miraculously transferred the unborn baby from Devaki's womb to Rohini's. The baby was born there and was named Sankarshana or Balarama. Balarama was as fair as silver. The gods had no option but to report to Kamsa that the 7th child has disappeared. When Kamsa learned that Devaki was expecting her 8th child, he redoubled the gods. But the night when Krishna was born was a dark night, and a huge storm gathered. As if by magic the gods fell asleep. The gates of the prison opened on their own. A dark complexionated baby was born to Devaki. Since the gods were inert and the gates were open, Vasudeva left the prison and went to Gokula with the baby. Nanda lived in Gokula and was known to Vasudeva. Nanda's wife was Yashoda. On the night when Krishna was born, the goddess Mahamaya was born as Yashoda's daughter. Everyone was sleeping in the Nanda's household when Vasudeva arrived there with the newborn Krishna. Mahamaya was sleeping beside Yashoda, and Vasudeva quietly exchanged the babies. He placed his own son next to Yashoda, and he picked up Mahamaya and returned to the prison, where the gate slammed shut behind him. Mahamaya's cries woke up the gods. They were unaware of what did happen and took Mahamaya to be Devaki's eighth child. They took her to Kamsa, and Kamsa prepared to kill the baby by hurling her on a stone. But as he was about to do so, a voice was heard from the sky. "Stupid Kamsa," said the voice, "whom are you trying to kill so unnecessarily? The one who will kill you is somewhere else. When the time comes, he will reveal himself." Kamsa spared the baby girl, and Vasudeva and Devaki were delighted to get Mahamaya back. She was named Ekanamsha and subsequently given in marriage to the sage Durvasa. Krishna was born on the Ashtami lunar day in the month of Bhadra. This day is known as Janmashtami, and a vrata to Krishna should be observed on Janmashtami. Nanda was in effect a Vasu god named Drona, and Yashoda was Drona's wife Dhara. Drona and Dhara meditated for 10,000 years, so they might get to see Krishna. When the meditation was unsuccessful, they decided to immolate themselves in a fire. But as they were about to do so, a voice was heard from the sky. "Please do not immolate yourself," said the voice. "The two of you will be able to see Krishna when he becomes your son in Gokula." That is how Dhara and Drona came to be reborn as Yashoda and Nanda respectively. The sage Kashyapa had several wives. Two of them were Aditi and Kadru. Aditi wanted to be with Kashyapa, but discovered that her co-wife Kadru was monopolizing their husband. Aditi therefore cursed Kadru that she would be reborn as a woman on earth. Kadru retaliated by cursing that Aditi would also be reborn as a woman on earth. And Kashyapa assured Kadru that when she was reborn on earth, he too would keep her company. Kashyapa was born on earth as Vasudeva, Aditi as Devaki, and Kadru as Rohini. Kamsa had imprisoned his father Ugrasena and had usurped the kingdom. He began to rule in Mathura. One day Kamsa heard a message from the sky. "Fool of a king," said the voice, "why are you sitting so idly on your throne? Do you not want to take any precautions? Your would-be killer has been born and is flourishing in Nanda's house in Gokula." Kamsa felt uneasy and called his sister Putana to him. Putana had learned various magical arts from the sage Durvasa and could adopt any form she wished and go anywhere she wanted. Kamsa asked Putana to go and feed poisoned milk to the baby in Nanda's house. Putana changed herself into a beautiful woman and went to Nanda's house in Gokula. "I want to bless the son that Nanda has at long last had," she said. Putana took the baby up to her breast and proceeded to feed him poisoned milk. But the baby sucked happily. He sucked out not only Putana's milk but her life as well. And Putana died. A wonderful Vimana descended and took Putana up to Goloka. As for Putana's mortal body, Nanda had it cremated with incense and sandalwood. In an early life, Putana had been Ratnamala, the daughter of the demon king Vali. At Vali's sacrificial ceremony, Vishnu had appeared in the incarnation of a dwarf, Vamana. Ratnamala had developed a motherly affection for the dwarf. She wished, "I would like this Vamana to become my son, so that I may be able to feed him some milk." It was because of this wish that Ratnamala had been born as Putana. There was a demon named Trinavarta, who was the whirlwind. He once wreaked havoc in Gokula. He broke the branches of trees, cast Gokula into darkness, and carried baby Krishna miles away from Nanda's home. But after a while, Trinavarta suddenly fell down dead. The storm died down, and the anxious gopis found the muddied body after a great deal of searching. In an early life, Trinavarta had been King Sahasra Aksha of Pandya. He had not shown due respect to the sage Durvasa. Durvasa had cursed him that he would be born as a demon on earth and be absolved only by Krishna's touch. When Sahasra Aksha as Trinavarta wafted baby Krishna away, Krishna's touch released him from the curse. A Vimana descended and took Trinavarta up to Goloka. One day many gopis came to visit Yashoda. Since she had to go and attend to the guest, Yashoda put Krishna down on the ground. The baby was hungry and they started to kick in anger. One such kick completely demolished a cart that stood nearby, laden with pots of milk, curd, butter, clarified butter, and honey. The gopis found exhibit such immense strength. One day the sage Garga came to visit Nanda. He told Nanda and Yashoda that their son was none other than Krishna. He also revealed to them the circumstance of Krishna's birth. On the first 14 days in months of Magha, Garga performed all the rites that have to be performed for a baby. Nanda named his son Krishna. The word Krish means salvation, and the word Na means supreme. Krishna is therefore someone who provides the supreme salvation. The naming ceremony was a grand occasion at which a lot of alms were given to sages and beggars. Garga went and reported the details of the ceremony to Vasudeva and Devaki. Sankarsana was a way ordered to Krishna, and the two brothers began to grow up together. They soon learned to utter a few half-formed words and to hold themselves up by holding on the walls and the tails of cattle. They also crawled on all fours and took a few tottering steps. One day Yashoda returned from her base in the Yamuna to find her store of milk products completely finished off. Pots of milk, butter, curds, and honey lay empty. Some of the pots had been smashed to pieces. This soon became a regular event. Whenever Yashoda went to have her bath, she would return and find that her pots were smashed and empty. She resolved to catch the chief. The chief was none other than Krishna, and Krishna is impossible to catch. Even the gods and the sages do not succeed in their attempts to get hold of Krishna. So how could Yashoda catch the chief? Finally Krishna took pity on her and let himself to be caught. Yashoda was very angry with Krishna. She beat him up and tied him to a tree with a length of cloth. She then went away to complete her housework. The huge Arjuna Shri broke down with a terrible sound at Krishna's touch. A bejeweled figure came out of the tree and bowed to Krishna. This was Nava Kubera, who had been disrespectful to the sage Devava and had been cursed by him. The curse was that Nava Kubera would become a tree and would be released only at Krishna's touch. Since that had happened, a Vimana descended from heaven and took Nava Kubera up to the abode of Kubera, his father. Yashoda, how could you tie Krishna to this tree? They asked. He had only stolen some food and broken some pots. It is just our good fortune that Krishna has not been crushed to death by the failing tree. If he had been killed, what would your pots of milk and butter be worth to you? Nanda also reapproached Yashoda. Nanda once took Krishna with him when he went to graze cows in Vrindavana. Krishna made a storm come up. Trees began to crash down and rain lashed at everything. Krishna clung to his father and pretended to cry in fright. Nanda wanted to take the cows back home, but he could not take care of Krishna and the cows simultaneously. Nor could he leave the boy unattended. He was then that the beautiful Radha arrived there. Nanda entrusted Krishna to Radha's care and took the cows back home. He felt secure in leaving Krishna with Radha since the sage Garga had told him who Radha really was. When Radha and Krishna were alone, Krishna created a wonderful hall with magical powers. In the hall was dark and handsome youth dressed in yellow clothing. A peacock feather adorned his forehead and he held a flute in his hand. My dear, do you remember all that happened in Goloka? The youth asked. Why should I forget it, my lord? Replied Radha. I remember it well. The youth was really Krishna and Brahma now appeared before Radha and Krishna. In Pushkara, Brahma had prayed for 60,000 years so that he might catch a glimpse of Radha. That wish was not granted to him. After worshipping Radha and Krishna together, Brahma left and Radha and Krishna enjoyed each other's company. After some time had passed, Krishna returned to the form in which Nanda had left him. A hungry and wailing child stood by Radha's side, and Radha was sad that she had lost sight of her beloved Krishna. But a voice was heard from heaven. Don't be sad, the voice told Radha. Return the boy to his mother and go home. But every night leave your shadow in your home and come here to Vrindavana. Krishna will be here and you can enjoy his company. That is what Radha started to do regularly. One day Krishna, Sankarsana and several other boys went to play in the woods of Madhuvana. There was a demon named Vakasura who looked like a vaka or crane. Bakasura arrived there and swallowed up the cattle and the boys had taken with them. The demon even seized Krishna, but Krishna burned up the demon and Vakasura vomited out all that he had swallowed before he died. In the neighboring wood named Kelika Dambhavana, there lived a demon named Pravambasura. This demon was in the form of a bow. When the boys went to the wood, the demon attacked them. He raised Krishna up on his horns. But Krishna grasped Pravambasura by his horns, whirled him around in the air and dashed him to the ground. The demon died as a result. Krishna, Balarama and the others then went to the wood named Phandiravana. There they met a demon named Keshi, who was in the form of an ass. The demon goaded the ass with his hooves, picked Krishna up and proceeded to eat him after rolling him around in the air. But when Keshi tried to eat Krishna, his jaws were broken and he was reduced to ashes by the force of Krishna's energy. In their early existence, Vakasura, Prambasura and Keshi had been Gandharvas, who had been devotees of Vishnu and disciples of Vilasa. They had once gone to pluck lotuses that were to be given as offerings to Vishnu, but they had made the mistake of plucking the lotuses from the sacred lake known as Chitra. This lake had been reserved for Parvati, as she had then been in the process of observing a Radha. The lake had accordingly been guarded by Shiva's attendants, and Shiva had vowed that anyone other than Parvati who plucked lotuses from the lake or interrupted Parvati's vrata would be born as a demon in his next life. Also, the Gandharvas had not known of this injunction and had plucked the lotuses inadvertently. Shiva's curse had been bounded upon them. Shiva had, however, assured them that they would meet Krishna on earth and would be freed from their curses. They would then ascend to Goloka and become Krishna's attendants. The vrata that Parvati had been observed had involved the worshipping of Radha and Krishna. It guaranteed the good fortunes on one's husband. The boys who had accompanied Krishna and Balarama returned home and reported to the people of Raja how Krishna had killed 3 demons. Nanda became worried as a great number of demons who seemed to be frequented the neighborhood of Raja. He discussed the situation with the elders and decided to leave Raja for Vrindavana. Bag and baggage, the Gopas left for their new home. A long train of chariots, horses, elephants and camels, laden with people and belongings, entered Vrindavana. But where are we going to stay? Asked the Gopas. Where are our houses? They are all here, replied Nanda. But they are hidden. You will not be able to see them until you have won the favor of the gods. The Gopas worshipped the goddess Chandika under a banyan tree and fell asleep. When the next day dawned, the Gopas were full of wonder. Marvelous structures had been erected all around them and a whole city had been constructed. What is the more, each house had the owner's name engraved on the door. In the chick of the night, when the Gopas had been sleeping, Vishvakarma, the architect of the gods, had constructed all these buildings. Nanda allotted the houses to the owners in accordance with the names that had been indicated. Everyone in Vrindavana felt happy in his own home. Vrindavana was named after Princess Vrinda, the daughter of a king named Kedara, born in Swayambhuva Manu's line. Vrinda meditated for 60,000 years in a lonely forest. When Krishna appeared and offered her a boon, she asked him to be her husband. Krishna lived with Vrinda for a very long time. Eventually they both went to Goloka and Vrinda became a prominent gopi there. The forest Vana, where Vrinda had meditated, came to be known as Vrindavana. One day the cowherds became very hungry and thirsty while minding their cattle. Krishna advised them to go to the place where the Brahmanas of Angira's family were performing a sacrifice. But the Brahmanas paid no heed to the hungry boys. On Krishna's advice, the cowherds now went to the kitchen where the wives of the Brahmanas were cooking. The wives reacted entirely differently. They were gratified that they had been asked to serve food to Krishna and his friends. They got together plates of gold and silver piled high with the rice, milk and sweets. "Please do something so that we are able to behold you all the time," pleaded the wives. "We do not want to stay here, we want to be with Krishna all the time." A wonderful Vimana came down from the sky and whisked the wives away to Goloka. And Krishna created shadow forms of the wives. This returned to their husband, and the husbands never knew the difference. The wives of Brahmanas had been the wives of the 7 great sages, Marichi, Atri, Angira, Puvasya, Puvaha, Kratu and Vasishtha, in their early birth. But while cooking, they had been touched by the unholy fire. The sage Angira had cursed them that since they had been contaminated, they would be born as the wives of Brahmanas on earth, and that they would be freed by Krishna. A great snake named Kalia lived in the waters of the Yamuna. Kalia poisoned up the water, and a cattle died from drinking this poisoned water. But Krishna always revived the dead cattle. To eliminate the problem once and for all, Krishna decided to kill Kalia. He therefore entered the water, and the great snake immediately swallowed him up. But swallowing Krishna was no mean task, and Kalia's innards were burned as a result of the endeavor. Finally, the snake was forced to vomit Krishna out. Krishna now stood on outspread hood on the snake, and so great was Krishna's weight that the hood was crushed. Kalia vomited blood and fainted. Kalia had many companions, all of whom were also snakes. This led away in all directions. Kalia's wife was named Surasa. She began to pray to Krishna for deliverance. A wonderful Vimana arrived and took Surasa up to Goloka. Krishna created a shadow image of Surasas and gave this to Kalia for his wife. As for Kalia himself, his wife's life was spared. Krishna placed his hand on the broken hood and revived the snake. But Krishna advised Kalia to leave the waters of Yamuna and go to a place named Ramanaka. The Yamuna remained limp thereafter. When Krishna stood on Kalia's hood, the hood got imprinted with the mark of Krishna's lotus feet. Garuda was the enemy of all snakes, but even he bowed down when confronted with this divine sign. Nanda once made lavish arrangements for a sacrifice ceremony dedicated to Indra. When the yajna was about to start, Krishna restrained Nanda. "Why should you pray to Indra?" asked Krishna. "Instead make your offering to this mountain Govardhana, so called because it helps cattle flourish. Go Govardhana." "But the generations our family has worshipped Indra," replied Nanda. "Indra causes it to rain, and rain is crucial for growing crops and grazing cattle." Krishna laughed. "Indra caused it to rain," he exclaimed. "This is the first time that I have had such a statement." He persuaded Nanda to dedicate the yajna to the mountain Govardhana, the sage, the Brahmana, the cattle and the fire god. When Indra got to know of this, he rushed to Vrindavana, accompanied by powerful winds and thick clouds. torrents of rain poured down on Vrindavana and threatened to drown everything. Nanda rushed to Krishna for deliverance. "Who is the Indra that you are so scared of?" asked Krishna. "Rest assured that I will take care of him." Krishna raised up the gigantic mountain Govardhana with his left hand. The peak acted like an umbrella, and all the cattle, women and children of Vrindavana took shelter under it. They were thus protected from the storm and the rain. When the storm had no effect on the people of Vrindavana, Indra tried to strike them down with his Vajra. But by Krishna's powers, Indra stood stunned and could not move at all. In the state of paralysis, Indra saw visions of Krishna and realized his greatness. He acknowledged Krishna's superiority and bowed down to him before returning to heaven. The storm ceased, and those who had sought shelter under Govardhana could now come out. Krishna also killed Dhenukasura, a demon who was in the form of an ass. This demon guarded a grove of palm trees and killed anyone who came to pluck the fruit. Krishna's friend, the Gopa's boy, wanted to eat the ripe palm fruit. "Go ahead and pluck the fruit," Krishna told them. "Why should you be scared of any demon?" Why you should be scared of any demon? While the boys were plucking the fruit, Dhenukasura came and attacked them. Krishna asked Balarama to take the children some distance away, and then Krishna burned up Dhenukasura. The demon did not immediately die, at least not yet. In the early life, the demon was Sahasika, the son of King Vali. The sage Vilasa was meditating in a cave in mountain Ganhamadana. Sahasika happened to come there with an apsara named Tilatama. They were so taken up with each other that they did not notice that the sage was meditating there. As they frolicked around, the tinkling of Tilatama's jewelry disturbed the sage's meditation. Durvasa cursed Sahasika that in his next birth he would be born as an ass. He also cursed Tilatama that in her next birth she would be born as the daughter of a demon named Vana and would be released only when Aniruddha, Krishna's grandson, would take her in her arms. Sahasika remembered all this in a flash when Krishna proceeded to burn him up. Dhenukasura promptly began to sing Krishna's praise and sought refuge with him. Krishna was in a dilemma. There was no sanction to the killing of someone who had sought refuge with Krishna. He therefore made Dhenukasura suffer from amnesia, so that the demon forgot who he really was. As soon as it happened, Dhenukasura began to curse Krishna and call him names. Krishna promptly cut off the demon's head with his Sudarshana chakra, and Sahasika was freed from the curse. The Gopa boys ate palm fruit to their heart's content. Narayana then told Narada how Durvasa came to sing Krishna's praise so as to free himself. Durvasa's meditation had been disturbed by Sahasika and Tilatama. The sage gave up meditating and started to wander around. While he was doing this, he met Kandali, the daughter of the sage Urva. Durvasa wanted to marry Kandali. Urva was not averse to the alliance, but he was warning Durvasa, "My daughter has but one fault. She is a quarrelsome, and when she is angry, she uses harsh words and makes scathing comments. I will overlook 100 harsh words from your daughter, promised Durvasa, but after that I will mete out whatever punishment she deserves. Both Durvasa and Urva advised Kandali to control her tongue. However, Kandali could not and would not listen to this advice. Durvasa forgave more than 100 harsh words, but he too was a hot-tempered person. One day after 100 harsh words had been uttered and forgiven, Durvasa cursed his wife. Burn to cinders, he said, and there lay Kandali, a heap of ashes. Durvasa grieved for his wife, and Krishna adopted the form of a small boy and comforted the sage. In her next life, Kandali was born as a tuber, also known as Kandali. Urva thought that his daughter had been punished too severely for a minor transgression. He therefore cursed Durvasa. You will suffer a great defeat. King Ambarisha was a devotee of Krishna's. Once when the king was observed a vrata, Durvasa arrived at the palace as a guest. Feed me, said Durvasa, I am hungry, but I still have a mantra to chant. Let me finish the incarnation and return. Durvasa was long time is returning, and the king was in a fix. As part of the vrata, Ambarisha had been fasting, and the ritual required that the fast be broken before a predestinated hour. Otherwise the vrata would come to naught. And yet Ambarisha should not really eat until his guest had eaten. The king finally decided to have a sip of water purified by the touch of Krishna's feet. This would not count as eating, but would maintain the continuity of the vrata. When Durvasa returned, he was outraged at what had happened. He felt that the king had insulted him by eating before his return. From his matted head, Durvasa created a warrior who rushed to kill Ambarisha with a sword. But Krishna's Sudarshana chakra arrived and sliced off the warrior's head. The chakra next began to pursue Durvasa. Save me, said Durvasa, and fled. But wherever Durvasa went, the chakra followed. Durvasa went to Brahma for help. But Brahma said, go elsewhere. I cannot help you. Vishnu himself protects all his devotees and destroys those who try to destroy them. No one can save you. Durvasa next sought Shiva's help, but the chakra pursued him there as well. Finally Durvasa went to Vaikuntha Loka and started to pray to Vishnu. Even I cannot save you, said Vishnu. One who can bear enmity towards a devotee of mine becomes my enemy, and even I cannot grant him protection. Go back to Ambarisha himself. Perhaps he may be able to save you. All this while Ambarisha had not eaten, and an entire year had passed. Durvasa fled to Ambarisha, the chakra in relentless pursuit. The king got up from his seat to welcome the sage, and Durvasa begged the king's forgiveness. This pacified the chakra. Thus it was that Durvasa was humbled by Urva's curse, and the sage never ceased to marvel at the powers that Vishnu devotees had. In early autumn, the gopis observed a vrata in honor of the goddess Parvati. After the months-long ritual was completed on the day of completion, they went for a holy dip in the river Yamuna. They left all their clothes, toiletry, ornaments and perfumes in a colorful array on the bank of the river. The Gopas, led by Krishna and Balarama, stow all this away. Krishna climbed a kadamba tree and hung out the clothes piece by piece on its branches. Then he started to tease the poor gopis, drawing their attention to the plight they were in. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. "Unless Radha begs me with the folded palms, I am not going to return your clothes to you." Radha sat down in the water in a posture of meditation and sang Krishna's praise. Behold, the bank of the Yamuna was again strewn with the clothes and other objects. The gopis went home in their colorful attires, marveling at this Krishna's extraordinary powers. On a moonlit night in the month of Chaitra, in a secluded spot in Vrindavana, Krishna performed Rasalila with Radha and the other gopis. He sounded his flute and leading all the household horse. Radha and the other gopis came to Krishna. In the fragrant night air and amidst the songs of birds they played around. Even the gods and the sage came to watch that marvelous phenomenon. Krishna and Radha roamed around, over hills and dales, along sea, beaches and river banks. At last they came to the top of Mount Mawaya. They sat down at the foot of a huge banyan tree near a clump of Ketaki bushes, and Krishna told Radha many wonderful tales and anecdotes. While they were seated there, the sage Ashtavakra came to pay his respect. Ashtavakra was bent in body, and Radha burst out laughing at his appearance. But Krishna told her to restrain her laughter. Ashtavakra's story went like this. In early life, Ashtavakra was a Brahmana named Devala. After spending many years with his wife, Devala decided never associated with women anymore. An Apsara named Rambha wished to marry Devala, but in view of the decision he had taken, Devala refused. "When a crooked mind you have," said Rambha, "I curse you that your body too will become blackened and crooked. You will be a deformity. That is more, that you will lose all the punya you have so far accumulated through your meditation." This curse was too much for Devala to bear, and he decided to immolate himself. But Krishna appeared before the Brahmana and asked him not to do so. Krishna named him Ashtavakra, since all his 8 Ashtalimbs had become crooked, Vakra. Krishna advised Ashtavakra to meditate once again. The sage meditated for 60,000 years on Mount Mawaya. When he encountered Radha and Krishna sitting there, he fell at their feet. Through Krishna's grace, Ashtavakra was freed from the curse. Krishna told Radha the story of how Brahma had been humbled. An Apsara named Mohini wanted to marry Brahma, but Brahma spurned her advance. Mohini thereupon cursed Brahma that all the ceremonies at which Brahma was worshipped would cease. Brahma went to Narayana for help. This Brahma, as you probably remember, had a 4 faces. While he was waiting in Vaikuntha to meet Narayana, Brahma discovered a 10-faced Brahma, a 100-faced Brahma, and a 1,000-faced Brahma also waiting. Greatly intrigued by this sight, Brahma asked Narayana who these other Brahmas were. Narayana explained that there were numerous universes, and each such universe had a Brahma reigning over it. There were thus several Brahmas. The 4-faced Brahma felt extremely humbled. Narayana advised Brahma to bathe in the holy Ganga and free himself from the Mohini's curse. Krishna told Radha that the humbling of Brahma was necessary as Brahma had become too arrogant. There follow anecdotes about Narayana humbling Shiva, Parvati, Chandra, Surya, Agni, Durvasa, Indra and Davantari. But if you are interested in this, you had better read the original Brahmavaivarta Purana. There was a time when Shiva started granting boons right and left. He even had delusions that he was the supreme deity. A demon named Vrika requested Shiva, "Please grant me the following boon. Whenever I place my hand of anyone's head, let that person be turned to ashes." Shiva granted the boon with alacrity, and Vrika immediately wanted to try out of the boon on Shiva himself. Shiva ran hither and thither, but Vrika pursued him everywhere. In utter desperation, Shiva sought refuge with Vishnu. Vishnu said to Vrika, "How did you come to believe that this large Shiva? He has granted you no boon at all. Why don't you place your hand on your head and see for yourself? Nothing is going to happen." The moment Vrika did this, he was burnt into ashes, and an embraced Shiva sang Vishnu's praise. In his arrogance, Indra neglected the goddess Prakriti. She therefore cursed him that he would be cursed by his own Guru. Brihaspati was the Guru of the gods, and he happened to visit Indra. Deluded by Prakriti's curse, Indra failed to stand up and show Brihaspati respect. Brihaspati cursed Indra that he would lose all his power and prosperity. Indra had to go through a very difficult time before he finally appeased Brihaspati and obtained his pomp and glory back. But in the intervening period he lost his capital of Amaravati, and when he received it back, it was in a completely dilapidated condition. Vishwakarma was the architect of the god, and Indra employed Vishwakarma to reconstruct Amaravati. But Vishwakarma's work did not please Indra at all. Indra kept asking him to redo the construction. He kept Vishwakarma in his employment and would not let him go. Vishwakarma was not in position to attend to any other work. He resorted to Brahma so that he might be freed from Indra's thrall. Brahma took Vishwakarma to Vishnu. Vishnu adopted the form of a Brahmana boy and appeared before Indra. "No other Indra has built such a wonderful city," he told Indra. "No other Vishwakarma has been such an excellent architect. But tell me, for how much longer are you going to make Vishwakarma work? Child, how many Indras have you seen, and how many Vishwakarmas have you known, that you speak thus?" asked Indra arrogantly. "There are countless Indras, as numerous as the particles of dust," replied Vishnu. "In each of infinite number of universes that exist, there is a different Indra. The lifespan of an Indra is 71 yugas. 28 such Indras are born and die during of one Brahma's days. A long line of ants was approaching. The boy laughed and pointed at the line. "I have created all these ants one by one," he said. "Each of them was an Indra in his early birth. Now that all those early births are over, I have made sure that they are reborn as ants." Indra came to understand how insignificant he was in the scheme of things. He shed his full sense of impotence and let Vishwakarma go. Once the fire god Agni was about to swallow the three worlds. His flames soared as high as palm trees. Adopting the form of a child, Vishnu came and gave Agni a dry reed to burn up. Agni enveloped the child in flames, but could not harm a single hair of his body. Nor could he sing the reed. His arrogance was thus crushed by Vishnu. One morning Kamsa got up feeling very depressed. He had terrible nightmares that he would soon die. His priest Satyaka advised him to perform a yajna, where Shiva's bow would be worshipped. If the yajna was performed correctly, it would destroy all fears from one's enemies. But if the bow was broken in the course of the ceremony, the one performing the yajna would face certain death. Satyaka also advised Kamsa to use the pretext of the yajna to invite Krishna to Mathura, where he could then be killed. Kamsa first requested Vasudeva to take the invitation to Krishna, but Vasudeva refused. A person named Akrura was then sent to Vrindavana with invitation. Meanwhile, Radha had also had nightmares. She had dreamed of the moon falling off from the sky and the world being submerged in darkness. But Krishna comforted her and said, "Don't remember the curse that Sri Dhamma imposed on you in Galoka. We will have to part for 100 years before we are united again." Radha was not easily consoled, but Krishna quieted her down and, having said farewell to Nanda and Yashoda, left for Mathura with Balarama. On his way through the affluent city of Mathura, Krishna saw a hunchbacked old woman carrying sandalwood paste. When she anointed Krishna with the paste, she was magically transformed into a beautiful young woman. Krishna reminded her that in her early birth she had been Ravana's sister Shurpanakha. She was now taken up to Goloka in a Vimana and became the Gopi Chandramukhi. For the sacrifice, Kamsa had a platform constructed. He concentrated the arena where the sacrifice was to be held and placed restless soldiers and elephant in the appointed place. He bade the assembled kings and sages be seated. He himself sat with the open sword in his hand. By Krishna killed the elephant Kubalayapida and the restless Chanura and Mushtika. He broke the holy bow with a deafening song. This was a terrible omen, and Kamsa shuddered in fear. Krishna now ascended the platform where Kamsa sat and beheaded him with the Sudarshana chakra. Having performed Kamsa's funeral rites, Krishna handed over the kingdom to Kamsa's father, Ugrasena. He also freed Vasudeva and Devaki from their bondage. Nanda had also come to Mathura, and Krishna revealed to Nanda his true self. "Stop thinking of me as your son," said Krishna, "and stop thinking of Radha as my Gopi. I am the root cause of all creation, and Radha is the goddess Prakriti. I am Vishnu, I am Brahma, I am Shiva, I am Surya, I am Agni, I am Vayu. I am there in every object, and everything is in turn contained in me. Tell my mother Yashoda as well that I am the Atman. Think of me as a Brahman rather than as your son." Krishna also advised Nanda on a day-to-day conduct, the interpretation of omens and dreams, the giving of alms, the nature of eclipse, the duties of different types of people, and the forms of righteous conduct. While he stayed behind the Mathura, Krishna sent Uddhava as a messenger to Vrindavana. When Uddhava met Radha, he discovered that Radha had become Chin as a result of being separated from Krishna. She had taken off her jewelry, her hair was unkempt, and her eyes were red. She was having fainted fits, but Radha was thrilled to obtain news of Krishna from Uddhava, and loaded the messenger with a gift. Uddhava returned to Mathura and told Krishna that had transpired. As they all arrived in Mathura, asked Krishna, "How is my mother and how my playmates and my cattle? How is Radha?" "I have assured Radha that you will go to Vrindavana and meet her," replied Uddhava. "Please do not let my promise become false. I will meet Radha and the others in their dreams," said Krishna. That is what Krishna did in their sleep. Radha, Yashoda, the cowheads and the milkmaids met Krishna and were comforted by him. Destiny would not let Krishna and Radha meet for quite some time. Krishna and Balarama first went to study with the sage Sandipani. Krishna then returned to Mathura, cast aside the clothes of a gopa and donned the clothes of a royal personage. Subsequently, he had the city of Dwaraka built and sided with the Pandavas in the war with the Kauravas. There was a hermitage named Siddha Ashram. Radha went there and worshipped Ganesha. The goddess Parvati appeared before Radha and said, "This time has come when you will be able to unite with Krishna again. The 100 years of Sridharma's curse are over, and you are free of the curse." Radha's friends gopis dressed her up in jewels, vermilion, sandalwood paste, and flowers. Radha returned to Gokula and Krishna went and met her there. He adopted the form of a dark horse, dressed in yellow, bedecked with the garlands and with a peacock feather adorning his forehead. This was a form that everyone in Gokula was familiar with. Radha came rushing to meet Krishna. "I am fulfilled today," she said. "It is as if showers are cooling my bones." Other gopis also came up and greeted Krishna with garlands, flowers, betel leaves, honey, mirrors, and clothing. Ascending a celestial chariot that had come down from Goloka, Krishna and Radha travelled to Vrindavana. Along with Nanda and Yashoda, all the gopas and gopis came out to greet them. They saw Krishna in the form in which they had known him, that of an 11-year-old boy with a flute in his hands. Calling all the gopas and gopis to him, Krishna sat down under a banyan tree and said, "From Brahma to a blade of grass, everything is an illusion, like the glow of lightning, a line drawn in water, or a bubble." He described the evils of Kali Yuga, which was fast approaching. He then bade them get ready to leave for Goloka. A Vimana descended from the sky. On Krishna's instructions, the inhabitants of Gokula mounted the chariot and were soon back in Goloka. Radha was once again a goddess seated on a golden throne, waiting upon by ladies of her choice. Krishna spent 11 years in Nanda's house, a full 100 years in Mathura and Dwaraka, and 14 more years in Vrindavana with Radha. He thus spent 125 years on earth. When the end was nigh, Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth and prosperity, deserted the city of Dwaraka. The earth trembled and the 7 seas grew turbulent. The Yadavas fought amongst themselves and finished one another off. All of them died and their wives accompanied them to heaven by immolating themselves on the funeral pyres of their husbands. While Krishna was resting A hunter named Jara shot him by mistake. Brahma and the other gods arrived to visit the hurt Krishna. Krishna comforted the gods and the despondent ass. He sent Jara to Goloka. Meanwhile, the power that was in Balarama's body merged in the body of the great snake Sheshanaga and entered the ocean. Vasudeva merged into Kashyapa and Devaki into Kashyapa's wife Aditi. The entire city of Dwarka was swallowed up by the sea. All the oceans and the rivers gathered around Krishna and shed their teeth. From Krishna's body there emerged a four-armed and luminous figure with a conch shell, a bladed discus, a mace, and a lotus in their forearms. Ascending a Vimana, this form went to the ocean known as Kshiroda. This was in Shvetadvipa, and there the form divided itself into two. From the right emerged the form of a cow herd with two hands. This was the form of Gopala or Gopala Balaka. From the left emerged the Narayana form with four hands. Narayana ascended in Vimana and went on to Vaikuntha Loka. As for Gopala, he began to play on a flute. All the gods and goddesses, with exception of Parvati, fainted at the sound of this playing. Parvati requested Gopal to go to Goloka and there meet Parvati in her form of Radha. Gopal left for Goloka. The gods now awoke from the spell cast by Gopal's flute and began to exclaim Hari Hari in adoration of Krishna. Krishna crossed the river Viraja that encircles Goloka and entered Goloka. The Gopas and the Gopis there welcomed him with a great delight. Krishna took his seat on the bejeweled throne next to Radha. Adinatha or Radesha was united at long last with his beloved Radha. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Radhe Radhe.